folks. I think we're ready. Vice Chairman Richard Dean, and I'd like to call our meeting to order. And I recognize that present with me here tonight are Airport Commissioners James Williams and Mr. Chad Scott. And I'll read the Clerk's Report of Compliance with the Freedom of Information Act. In compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, notice of meeting and agenda were posted and furnished to all news media and persons requesting notification. Item 2, I'd like to introduce and welcome Mr. Chad Scott, our newest member of the Airport Commission. Jeff, would you like to make any comments?
Just a pleasure to be able to serve the community and serve on commission. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Mr. Fulgham, do you have an update on our council's request for a joint meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not quite sure. I'll have to ask somebody that reach out to the FAA. We received a response back.
I have not received any response from Commissioner Clark on when we can meet, and we'll keep everyone posted as soon as I get word.
Okay, so they've not.
I made a request.
Yeah.
But I have not gotten a reply.
Okay. When did you make that request?
I made that request, I believe earlier. I don't have an actual, I don't recall the actual.
Okay. Thank you. Lynn, you put together a package of information for the County Council for the last workshop, and got that on our agenda tonight. If you'd like to take us.
I believe there was another matter before that one on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. Pavement and crack sealing. That's you. Take us through that, please.
So, as we all know, we had an opportunity a few months ago to get a really good rate on getting some of our asphalt surfaces resurfaced through some federal grant money that we had sitting around. We were going to be able to get that done for, I believe, it was our contribution was very low. I don't remember the actual number, but it was going to be very low, and the council decided to turn down that proposal, and so we had to give that money back, and we lost the opportunity to get that asphalt paved and also get the emergency generators that we badly need taken care of. So I was conferring with the State Aeronautics Commission on the matter, and I learned that they have a program in which we can facilitate this stuff. Now we have some areas of our field that are, around Charlie, it's very aggregate. It's not, the asphalt is falling apart there. And Taxiway Bravo has a lot of cracks in it and really needs to be addressed as well. So I brought this up with them. The original bid to do all the asphalt services across the whole field that needed attention. I mean, working on Ramp Delta, widening what Danny used to call the GO Trail into a full-on taxiway. Doing all that work was like $95,000, and that was just too much for us to bear right now. But we need to take care of these emergency areas that I mentioned on Ramp Charlie, on Taxiway Bravo. And so I was conferring with the Aeronautics Commission, saying, is there any way we can use your asphalt pavement program to be able to address these areas? And they said, and so I listed out on there the issues that we're talking about, which would be, we might not be able to work on it so I could read from it. document doesn't seem to be in my folder, but I believe it's $63,000 for us to do the crack sealing and asphalt resealing and restriping both taxiway Bravo and the ramp Charlie. Now that's the total cost for all the labor and all the materials, everything that we would do. But the Aeronautics Commission's program allows us to, they pay 75% of that. We end up they're getting that for 25%. So our part, I believe, is roughly about $15,000, $16,000. Sorry, which we already have in our budget. The reason I asked for this to be on the agenda item is because in the past you have made comments and expressed frustrations over the lack of transparency from the airport, and you didn't know about something that happened until after it happened. So this is already in the budget. We can be able to do this right now. We don't need to have any council action on this. I just want to bring it forward, let you guys know that we're planning on accepting this program's offer and being able to do this work, but you guys are fully aware of what's happening and all the costs involved with it.
Do you need a motion or action from us?
No, I do not.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Chairman, just general consensus, do you think it's a good idea that we pursue it? We're just trying to make up for the lost opportunity of the last spring.
This commissioner does. I was going to ask the same question of
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we hate that we lost the opportunity the first time, but this is a suitable substitute for our team.
So I got to run around, and Leonard was able to show me a lot of what's going on out there. It was in desperate need of some work, so.
Am I allowed to just ask a question?
Not until,
Yeah, not until we get to the public speaking part. Thank you. Very good. Anything else on this subject before we move on? Now it's the lease rate proposal and lease status report. If you'll take us through that, please.
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit at a loss. What are you asking specifically? Are you talking about the spreadsheet there?
Yeah, I'm talking about the spreadsheet.
With the data on that? This particular data spreadsheet was just to.
I think it starts with this.
You mean the workshop?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's all kind of relevant to the same conversation.
Yes.
This was basically prepared, well, the presentation was prepared to give the council's right now considering this lease rate proposal, $4.80 per square foot on the existing hangars and $1.62 per square foot on any kind of new developments. But what does $4.80 per square foot really look like, or how does that benefit the airport, or what kind of value does that add to the airport? Was really kind of an abstract concept with just what's written in the proposal. So this presentation was presented to present to the council what kind of real benefit this particular proposal would have served to the council, to the airport, should that rate adjustment be approved by them. In a similar fashion, again, we were trying to also allow the council to understand and see what is going on in terms of past due rents that might be outstanding, which is what ended up, what was generated with the spreadsheet that's showing the cumulative lease status, and so that the council was abreast to these certain details.
Any questions from you, gentlemen? I have a few.
I think I know your questions.
Well, I'm a newbie here, so I'm still learning.
Okay.
I want to hear everybody's opinion.
Where's the $4.80 come from? Is that based on some research, or?
I do not have any active knowledge on that. That is a rate that was in motion before I stepped into this role.
So you don't know where that
I don't know the history on that, no.
Okay.
Mr. Dino might be able to help you with that.
Okay.
I might be able to help you with that.
Please do.
Because Lenny doesn't know, doesn't mean I don't know. The rate came from some comparables that were provided to the council by Mr. Lucas. And that was actually a rate that the council directed us to put in the resolution that was coming before them. So that's what was in the resolution. So Lenny was just doing a presentation to show them what the impact of that would be. I hope that's helpful. The rates, as I mentioned at the last workshop, I think that's still has plenty of room for debate and justification. But I want you to know that's how that came to be.
Okay. Yeah, we're just trying to get my head around the spectacular leap. For the last 2 years, Mr. Lucas had recommended 28 cents a square foot annually. And that rate was adopted as part of by County Council as part of the budget ordinance for the past 2 years. And we're just trying to get our head around, I guess I would look at, that's a 1,700% increase. And I was looking at somebody's lease today, one of the most recent leases, and at 28 cents a square, he's paying $423.36 annually. That would leap to $7,257.60. And I think that's going to be quite a stretch to negotiate with the hangar owners.
That seems like one of the larger these hangars that might be on the field, because I did do some cost comparisons, even with the hangars that are currently represented on this board or on this commission. One hangar on this commission, the rent with the current $4.80 rate would jump to from the would end up jumping. Well, actually, it would go to be about would break down to like $7,000 a year. If you were to break that down to a monthly rate, what was that number you gave me?
423 was the rate he's at currently, 72.57, and that
Would
is
it be the 72.57 would be the increase?
that would be the new rate.
That would be the new rate?
That's
for an annual number, right?
Yeah, that's an annual number.
So that would bring his rent to $604 a month.
Yeah, that's for a 1,500 square foot hangar.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you think about $1,600 a month for a 1,500 square foot hangar, and you add that, and you compare that to a hangar is basically a storage space, and you add that, and you compare that to what someone outside our field would pay for a storage hangar, a storage unit at a public storage or someplace, for something even a fraction of that, that certainly would be not that far-fetched when you think about it on a monthly level.
When you don't own, you don't.
I think that I know where she's going. The national average, based on some extensive research that we've done, is 31 cents a square foot annually. The FAA actually recommends more like 20 cents a square foot for a new build, because they recognize that you're trying to incentivize the growth. I would encourage you to go back and look at the FAA's grant assurances. They also have some specific documents related to lease practices, where they talk about market rate versus self-sustainability, etc. One of the questions we asked in a video call with Ms. Clark, with Katura Clark and other FAA folks, and Councilman Rowell and Councilman Arzillo were on that call, and she clearly stated that you can't expect the hangar owners on the airfield to fund the lion's share of the airport. It just won't work. One other example I would make is, let's say you own a gas station down at Exit 5, and everyone there was selling gas for $3 a gallon, and you had yours priced at $50 or $75 a gallon. It's just not going to work. You're not going to be in business very long. Everybody's going to go elsewhere. based on this rate, and then we're talking about hangars that are owned by the hangar owner who pays taxes on the hangar, who maintains the hangar, electrifies the hangar, insures the hangar, et cetera, all of that, versus we'll use Hilton Head for an example. They own all of their hangars. The hangar, the occupant there is renting the building, not the dirt. They have no insurance issues. They have no maintenance, no taxes, no nothing. This man could literally leave here and go to Hilton Head and pay their monthly hangar rent there, and it would be much, much slower than the
Certainly, and my comments I just made, I would like to just clarify for the record, this particular $4.80 rate, I'm not particularly committed to with that number at all. And I am also really not really, I'm sorry, let me just gather my thoughts here, but I'm not really particularly committed to that $4.80, and I am open to, in fact, Andy and I were having a discussion earlier today about doing some continued research on the rate increase and what would be a fair rate for these individual hangars. So I think that this is something that, rather than spending an extensive amount of time debating on whether or not 480 is fair or not,
Yep.
I think we just need to continue doing some work and research on what that number should be. Like I said, I'm not necessarily, this is a number that was in place before I took this role.
Gotcha.
But I do think that we need to continue some research and explore a much better approach.
I would recommend this is a great place to start. Well-researched, fact-based information. A lot of sweat went into that. And but at the same time, though, do reach out to the FAA. I think they will give you some clear guidance. We've received detailed information from them over the years, and I think they have provided very good guidance. And again, take a look at the national average, and you'll see that in those documents.
Absolutely. Well, we do plan on using all resources available to us to come up with any future recommendations.
Very good. Gentlemen, any questions on the rate for Mr. Sansone or Mr. Fulton?
No, I think they've answered it appropriately to say that they're open to taking a look at, obviously, how that rate was, the origin of that rate, and we're open to looking at the data. At the end of the day, the council has the right to ask whatever they want to ask for at the end of the day. But I think, given the due diligence, I have every bit of confidence they'll do something that's fair and equitable for both the county and the individuals who are currently in those hangars.
I would agree with that as well. I mean, we can't not do nothing, and we can't just go overboard, so the research and all that needs to be done on this to come up with the right number is really good.
But I will take this moment to say, this is the opportunity for government to work as it's designed to work. This is something that obviously a large portion of the general public may feel to be a bit absurd. This job, they will have their opportunity to voice at the appropriate time and place. The staff will be able to do their job, and then ultimately our elected officials will, get the advice from the appointed officials, and everything will work out the way it's designed.
The one thing I would like to say is I would like to see the numbers get to the point where the airport itself is self-sufficient and not draining of any source. The airport should not cost the taxpayers of Jackson County any money. It should be ran as a business. The business that loses money every year tends to sink, and the taxpayers shouldn't carry that burden. not being a hangar owner, that's, I'm one of the taxpayers, that, you know, that's where we need to get.
I appreciate your thoughts on that, and that's my intention on being able to generate that kind of an airport.
I would like to close it out by, if you look nationwide, very, very few airports are self-sustaining, particularly rural airports of our type here. You cannot lose sight of why you have an airport. It is not a rich guy's playground. The reason Jasper County invested the money that they did and the FAA in the expansion of the Richland Airport is for its economic impact beyond the airport. What we don't know is when one of these multi-million dollar jets land and people get out of it and they go out into our community, are they buying property? Are they opening businesses? What they're doing and the tremendous benefit that the community, the tax base gets from those type of activities. That's the real reason that you know, we didn't build this new runway for the local guys that have a fun place to fly. They made this investment to broaden the countywide economic impact. And, the State Aeronautics Commission has done studies on that. The latest one was 2018, and that was before our new runway was open. And that they quote economic impacts of up to $8 million a year in this community. I'd like to see what those numbers are today now that we have the airport open. That's another factor too here, in that one of the issues with government is we have a tendency to not look at how do we control our spending, but instead let's reach further into the users' pockets to get more money to cover our spending. That's, in reality, the airport cannot gouge its way to success. And I think when you reach out to the FAA, they will verify that as well. That they have no expectation that Ridgeland is going to break even. They just want you to make sure that you make the policy decisions that get you there, that get you close, and they'll also tell you that comparison of what's happening at the airport for hangar users versus what's happening for a business on the street on privately owned property, and a comparison of those market rates, that is not comparable. They'll tell you that right up front. That, because what's happening is the airport is a benefit of all users that come in and out, every one of those people, the transits that come in and out every day. And it's all the load can't be put on the local hangar owners itself. Anyway.
So I appreciate your comments, sir, and I would like just to add one thing to that, in that I completely agree with you on the fact that I don't think any one group of people should bear the weight, financial weight of this airport. I don't think it should be the hangar owners. I don't think it should be the tenants. I mean the taxpayers of Jasper County. And quite frankly, I don't think it should be the transients. I think everyone should bear an equal portion and equal weight to the cost of that. When we look at the presentation that I did prepare, even though most of it was hypothetical speaking and in reference to the rates that we've already discussed, I'm not married to, but it did show in that presentation that last year we only lost $281,000. I mean, $281,000 to make this airport self-sustaining would be very difficult to do with just even an increase in fuel sales. So I think what we need to do is to understand that while it is rare for an airport to be self-sustaining or profitable in the country on a nationwide level, I think the potential that Jasper County holds with the airport that we have built, I think we can be confident that at some point in the very near future we will be amongst that rarity.
Mr. Dean?
Yes.
Sure. Sound like a broken record, but I think I said this last time, sort of what Lenny was saying too. I think that's a very important thing to mention, that the airport has tripled in size, a mile runway now, a lot of additional responsibilities, but not a large larger customer base other than the transient crowd, right?
Right.
And so we do recognize this tremendous development potential, which would produce a lot more revenue. But of course, we can't get there until we get through this.
Yeah. Thank you. If no other comments, I have a sense I'd like to move on to the spreadsheet. You have a copy in front of you?
I do.
Some questions trying to identify some accuracy of some information here. If you would, gentlemen, not have a copy. I have one here. You got that one? Okay.
Should say my eyes on the electronic.
Okay. On item number 3 there, that's what A3. In a recent conversation, you told me you had no record of payments, lease payments on that hangar. Is that
This is based off of the records that I have in my folder. In fact, all the data on this sheet is based off of the records of payments I have in my folder.
okay?
I am open to the assumption that, I am open to the possibility that some payments never made it into the folder. You know, however, this is what I had in the folder. There were some payments, I know you asked to speak about A3, we can follow back, but I want to give you a general comment about the overall spreadsheet. I do know that some individuals on the spreadsheet did submit some kind of a payment, meaning the fact that they submitted a check to the airport. However, many of those checks were never cashed by the previous manager because of the reason, from what I was told from me just being on staff at the airport, that they were not cashed due to lease violations. I was never clarified what those lease violations were, so I don't know what they are at the moment. I just know that they never got cashed because there was something that was a lease violation. And as a result, I couldn't speak in detail to that, but all the numbers here are reflective of payments that were never, basically, if the check never got cashed, it didn't get counted as a payment.
Got it. I'll just take you through a few comments that I have and a few questions here as well along that line. On A3, I'll tell you that's a hangar that I inherited. And actually, on Mr. Fulgham and I signed my lease in June of 2020. Ms. Kim Burgess was there with us. She notarized that, and I handed her my payment for 2020. It's not reflected in here. I know I don't expect you to answer that because you've already answered it. In 2022, I have this email exchange with Ms. Burgess because I sent her my payment then, and she responded back, "Thank you, I've got it as well." So just pointing out that the information you've inherited here is not very accurate. Item number 4, hangar lot B1. If you would look at that, I see that lease is good until 2040.
Yes, sir.
But the red indicates there that you have no record of a payment.
That there, so, but what I can tell you on this is, if you look at the 2020 date, it says it's 252 was outstanding. That indicates to me, and I would need to be able to give you a clearer picture because I don't have the actual file that gives me an actual description of this, just looking at the overall spreadsheet. But that indicates to me that there was some sort of payment on file, but that looks like a remaining payment that ended up being remaining. I would have to look at the files to tell you how that's accumulated out to be able to determine it, because if you look over in the fourth column, it says the actual lease rate for this particular lease is $4.32, $432
Annually.
So that's telling me that there was a payment, but the 252 was kind of a partial payment for 2020, and then that partial payment got used up there, and then in 2021 there was it continued on to accumulate, but then there was a payment made in 2024 there must have been a payment made between 2024 and 2025 because there's a remaining payment of 432. So, I mean, it looks like they got caught up in 2025, but then a new payment was dealt with. So we can confer over the phone, and I can give you more specific insight on that once I have my files in front of me. But one of the things that was the intent on developing this spreadsheet was just to be able to make it publicly aware of this is what the airport's records are. And if somebody is a hangar owner says, looks at the spreadsheet and it's published, and it's been out there in the public now, and if somebody on the airport says, hey, that's my hangar and I don't agree with those rates or what there is, I do welcome anybody to contact me and let's review what the status is and where that map came out, and so we can make any adjustments. Because I will admit that my files are a bit spotty, and in the previous manager was a little bit more closed on these files, and I'm trying to sort it all out. So I do welcome any conversation that anyone on the airport has over these rates, so that we can be able to go over those individuals' information in detail.
Thank you. B1 belongs to Marco Wright, and he was kind enough to send me this email and his canceled check that will help you through that. You're welcome. You're welcome to that process.
Mr. Dean, I'm sorry, and which one was that for? Which one?
B1, you said?
B1, Bravo 1, line number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one more thing I wanted to clarify with Mr. O'Brighton. So, like I mentioned a minute ago, this is just showing the status of how things accumulated. And so while it says 252 in 2020 and 684 in 21, and just kind of went down the list, it does reflect that there was a payment made in there. So, and I do know Mr. Albright did actually make a payment sometime in the last 12 months. That letter probably, that email you may refer to probably refers to the exact date. But we're in a new year, so that payment is now showing an outstanding balance for the new year.
Yeah. Well, it has me a little bit confused. Maybe you can help me understand this a bit better. If you look at the columns right above that, they look like it all plays out the same. When there are no lease payments made versus in B1 when there have been lease payments made, and then.
Well, if we had been earlier in the year when a new payment hadn't been due yet on Mr. Albrighton's thing, it would have said 0 for 2025. But now we're past that point where now a new payment became due. So you can see how it dropped from $17.28 to $432, which indicates that is no longer cumulative. We're starting with a new year.
Very good. Let me move on here so we're not wasting everybody's time. Look at line 18, this G1. That's Lisa did some research on that. That was signed May of 2024. There's no indication of a payment on here.
There is an indication of a payment on here because it's $0 for every year, meaning that is paid in full.
My one last point I want to make here about this is that, we put this package together and we've sent this out. This is out in the community. There's no explanation that, many of the records are bad or questionable or anybody else. And there's people sitting in the community looking at this going, that's outrageous. And, when you put information out to the public, it should be very, very clear that, and there's no indication here in any of the package or presentation that we're struggling to verify many of these records.
Well, one of the things I was being really sensitive to in this particular situation was I was very interested in maintaining all your private identities. This is why I only listed lot numbers, and it did not, list anyone else's information as to names and contact information or anything like that. But I thought that would be completely inappropriate to, disseminate. However,
I agree.
I think that, I did want to make the notice, this actually was designed for council to review. It could get made public, but it was designed for council to review so they understand what the situation is. Again, like I mentioned, as a result of being public, any of the hangar owners that are represented, everybody knows which number belongs to them. If they if they have questions about their hangar status and what they owe, they have every right to just come and talk to me, and I can go over where that math came from and how we came up with the determination. And if there was an error in there, I'm going to say, wait a second, we have an error in our math on this, and we can make that correction and we can make the adjustment.
Thank you. Let me move on here. We've got a couple of points I'd like to make. In our lease terms, since 2018, leases have had a clause that states, and I'll quote, if a lessee fails to make a payment due under this lease within 30 days of the date on which such payment is due, or shall violate any other term or covenant of this lease, leaseor, that's the county, at its option may terminate this lease after giving notice of the violation to lessee, and lessee having 30 days to cure the violation. I'll go back to what was reported to you that these hangar owners were in violation of their leases. That's why the checks were not being cashed. When you inherited the records, did you get any records, any indication, records that anybody had ever been sent a notice that you're out of compliance and you've got 30 days to fix it?
I don't have any records to suggest that.
The lease also states, leaseor has the right to adjust the rate at the end of the first 5-year anniversary of this lease, and during the intervening years, rent shall be annually adjusted based on the percentage change in the consumer price index, CPI, as adopted by the county council in its budget ordinance. Leaseor will provide notice of the new lease rate at a minimum of 90 days prior to implementation. Ever seen any
There's been no
correspondence?
documentation where the county has, or where I have no documentation suggesting that anybody got notified within 90 days. I do want to clarify that clause that you read. Some of the more recent contracts between 2018 and 2023 are inconsistent with that CPI language. Some of them include it, some of them do not. So I think that's fair to add to the conversation. It does say, and the ones that do not have the CPI, it says it's fair market rate, but there are some leases that don't say the CPI part. But nevertheless, to your point, I do not have anything in my files to suggest that there was 90-day notice given to any of these tenants.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Why would we have different lease agreements?
It's just different versions that were passed at different years, and I don't know the reason behind it.
In Scott, from about 1950 to 2018, the airport was managed by the Jasper County Aeronautics Commission. That was the Aeronautics Commission was created by a special act of the South Carolina legislature, and the airport had its own bank account, sometimes with the assistance of a county attorney or other private attorneys. The Aeronautics Commission drafted the leases, administered the leases, et cetera, et cetera. When the county accepted the federal dollars to expand the runway, that obligated them the ground assurances. Anyway, they dissolved the old Aeronautics Commission and created the Airport Commission. They also created an ordinance, I believe, Mr. Fulgham, correct me, 2019 was the first one where we had a package of leases that were approved as part of that ordinance. Those were created by the county attorney.
That's correct.
And on a basis of what he thought was required of him by the grant assurance. So that's what we saw, changes in that. But I do believe everything since 2018 has had the CPI in it. Everything was adopted by the county.
Y'all forgive me if I ask questions like this.
Please
I'm
do.
learning, so.
Please do. Please do. It's very, very important. On a historical note, for decades prior to August 2020, the airport managers mailed a lease due notice to the lessee at least 30 days in advance, advising the lease payment was due, the amount owed, and where to mail the check. Our recently departed airport manager halted that process early in his tenure. Hence, and that has been a domino effect, in my humble opinion. I'll make one other comment. It has been alleged, and let me emphasize, alleged, that the former manager shredded a large amount of papers at that airport office the weekend before his Monday dismissal. Do you think that could be a contributing factor to your lack of accurate records in these payments?
No.
Very good.
I would like to add a little bit to this comment that you just made. That is to say that I am of the personal opinion that the notifications should have been done in a more accurate, timely fashion. I do believe that as the airport manager, even right now as the interim airport manager, it is my intention to communicate when there is a maybe somebody with a current lease is past due on their rent, or maybe there's a lease violation that needs to be dealt with. I do believe it is, something that I do want to end up, sending correspondence with and communicating with them, saying we found this or that, and we need to have this corrected. Give them a date and time, and time period to correct it, and so that we can have that kind of proper, professional communication occurring. I know that it didn't happen before, and I, as the airport manager now, I do, even though it wasn't my actions, I do apologize to the field for that, because that was not an appropriate response. But I do want to work on correcting that going forward. One of the reasons why I really haven't addressed the lease issues or these past due rents currently is because we have this matter going on right now concerning the more complicated issue. Most of those leases are currently expired. I mean, only the ones in black are not. So we gotta resolve that matter before we can continue figuring out what we're going to do about collecting past due funds.
I would finally just point out the fact that it's not just the hangar owners who've been non-compliant. I think you just answered the question here. The county of the airport has been
I agree.
non-compliant in terms of
100%
Mr.
complicit.
Vice Chair, I'd like to suggest that the lease situation is at the bottom. We all agree with that.
There is.
And we can't go back and undo the past. So, and we got strategies in place moving forward. So I think the rabbit hole of the leases, we've covered that. To agenda item 7.
I agree with you, sir. We've got a lot of work to do.
We've got a lot of work to do.
To the leases, and I think it's an excellent segue.
Yeah. Public comment.
Yeah. Please talk about this, and this package of information has been sent to the county council, county staff as well as you guys. Extensively researched recommendations, survey, etc., on what the aviation community thinks of a 1,600% increase. I encourage you to read it. I encourage you to ask questions about it. I would like for the airport commission to make a recommendation to council, because this did not come before council, the airport commission, and we did not adopt it and send it formally to the airport, to the county council. If somebody would like to make a motion to that effect tonight, I'd certainly hear it, but if you haven't consumed it well enough and haven't had your questions answered enough, we can address that in our next session next month.
Well, I mean, I've had a chance to review the document in its extensive nature. It is it's detailed. It has a lot of research in it. I do think that something that the whole commission should weigh in on prior to because of the nature of it. So I asked that the table it until the whole commission can view it before we send it up to council.
Okay.
I would agree.
Very well. Let's move on to our public comment section. I would remind everyone that you're limited to 3 minutes, and please adhere to appropriate public meeting decorum. Who'd like to speak?
I did.
Sager.
Jack Sager. The airport budget is 2% of the whole county budget. You talked about money being spent. We're spending $4 million renovating the library. The county bought $800,000 building, small little building next to railroad tracks, just for a temporary library. Okay? $750,000 for Thayer Rivers' house, which was his legal office in front of the courthouse. That's not including $300,000 to renovate it. $900,000 go to the school system every month. Okay? And to talk, who comes up with these ideas to buy these things? I want to know who's qualified to look into these buildings and say, this thing's worth $800,000, $750,000. I've been in that house. It's a piece of junk. And we're spending money out here at the airport, and everybody's blaming the pilots out here who have cost you nothing. The pilots and the hangars out there have cost the taxpayers zero. Nothing. Matter of fact, the pilots are the only ones that actually pay. The only entity in the whole county that actually pay for their cert to be there. We pay every month. Taxes, we pay leases. And before the county took over, we ran the airport on just the lease money. The tax money went to the general fund. Okay? So it can be run again. I've sent it to Van Giesen. I can show you $1 million at cutting of expenses overnight. Okay? And then what do you have to lose? $1.6 million. The estimated budget, is it not? Is it 1.6 million or is it more? And they're spending, fabricating projects out there, like cutting some woods down that are not in the way of anything. Because they say deer are going to be there. There's no deer in there. I've lived there 35 years. Deer don't hide behind trees like people. Okay? It's a pine thicket. And it's right next to the runway. And deer don't lay down next to the runway. They don't do that. I've seen it. I've hunted. And if you haven't, then you don't know anything about deer. But the thing about it, quit using the FAA as your shield to justify whatever you want to do. Because this is not true. Give us the tax money. Give us the lease money. And I'll show you how to run the airport for less than 50 grand. That's about what it costs. Okay? You don't need a bunch of employees. You don't need we're paying $60,000 for a trailer out there. $110,000 for a tug. It's sitting out in the weather. Okay? We don't need to hire people to mow grass to watch people mow grass. I don't get it. If you were self-employed, which I have been for the last 30 years, you know these facts. And you know what I did when I was self-employed? When I started getting close to red, I quit spending money. Okay? But it's easy to spend other people's money because, like the liberals think of, okay, but the only problem is sooner or later you run out of other people's money. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Sir, I'd like to speak.
Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, folks. I'm Christopher Allen. I fly out of 3J1 and would love to make it my permanent base to fly out of. I love Ridgeland. I love Jasper County. So first of all, I'd like to express my appreciation for you guys for stepping forward to do this thankless job. You represent us as aviators. You represent the citizens. In theory, you find the balance reasonable balance for the way forward. And I am, as a citizen, I am thankful to you for what you're doing. And that brings me, I want to elevate a systemic problem that I'm seeing as an outsider here, a little bit at arm's length, is that the county council clearly has two sets of advisors on aviation issues. They have their own aviation commission, in theory, selected for what you guys know and in your connections with the other aviation community. And yet, I think the county council, from what I can see, is picking up its primary advice from someone, either Lenny or somebody else. But until you get a consistent voice, I think you're going to get schizophrenia inside of the county council. My recommendation would be for the county council to consult its own aviation commission for their best advice on how to go for the run with the airport, etc. It's also, just as an outsider, and I don't know all the details, but the airport manager should probably report to the county, or not to the county council, but to the aviation commission. Therefore, all the right priorities, et cetera, whatever you guys are seeing, would be the ones that are getting funded or not getting funded, et cetera. So, at any rate, I have some other concerns, but I just want to let you know how difficult this is, how grateful I am to people like you for stepping forward, and to think about that systemic problem that clearly is a source of dysfunction that county council doesn't seem to understand, that they have a primary advisory body here that they elect to not consult. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Anyone else?
I'm Cheryl Schmidt, hanger on.
Speak up.
I'm Cheryl Schmidt, Steve Schmidt's widow. Steve spent the last 6 years of his life fighting this battle. I don't like this. I don't want to see him fail. We all have to reestablish some trust. We don't trust council. They don't trust us. I would ask you to please come better prepared. I would like the next time you're here, I want to know exactly the date you reached out to the FAA. Did you do it by certified letter? Did you do it by mail? I'm not angry at you, you're doing your job, but I'd like things to be more certified. I'd like to be a little better prepared. I don't know if this is the correct time, and if it's wrong, you'll tell me. Some things were said at council, like Tedder alluded that we were trying to create a false data by paying it 6 months at a time. And she tried to speak, and he refused to let her speak at the council. When he said it, it was required by the lease that we pay in 6 months, and he would not let her enter that into the record. It's been entered 5 years, about 5 years, excuse me, 6, 5, thank you. He insinuated that last week, quoting scripture, that he'd been threatened. What he was said was not a threat, and nobody was allowed to rebut that. We've got to create some new trust, and I really hope we can. I would like to know when we come back again exactly where that 480, where did that come from? And thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Yes.
Stand up, Brad. Tell us who you are.
My name is Brad Ford. I'm not a hanger owner. I rent from the hanger owner. But I think what's missing, and I don't think it's missing from the people who participate in the airport directly, the hangar owners, the pilots, the commission, but there's an intrinsic value that this airport has to the county and the community that I don't think people that in this building generally really understand. And I'm going to give you an example. My wife and I were looking for a place to move up from Florida. We lived in Orlando. And we looked at North Carolina, South Carolina. That's what we narrowed it down to. The last place we stopped in our search was landed by Piper Lance at Hilton Head and looked around here and picked a place that we liked, but we weren't convinced of it. So I brought my wife back up to meet with some other people and some sales pitches. And this time we landed at Ridgeland. I didn't know about Ridgeland. And Hilton Head was fine, but it was expensive. So we landed at Ridgeland, and my wife is a little concerned that maybe nobody's come out to charge us to be there or anything like that. She's a little concerned we're going to be in trouble. And this gentleman with a dog turned out to be Mr. Richard Dean. Comes walking up to us and he says, "Welcome to South Carolina." That night we went to Hudson's on the island, had dinner, watched the sunset. The next day we closed on our property here in Hardyville, and 2 years later built a $1 million house. We've been here for 5 years, spending that kind of money. And I'm not alone. There's lots of folks that see this beautiful little airport and this wonderful community as a gem and an asset. And I don't think a lot of people recognize that. It needs to be underlined and a big part of the conversation about what this airport means to the community. And I'm just talking about the personal stuff. Now you just look at people that want to build a battery factory or a chip factory or things that we're all talking about in politics these days. And they're looking for places to be with highways, airports, good places to live, school systems, et cetera, et cetera. This place has a lot of that. Some of it needs some work, but this place has a lot of that, and the airport is a big, big part of that. And let's just not lose sight of that.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else? We can move on to commission members' questions and comments. Scott.
We've covered a lot of information tonight, and there's a lot more for me to learn, so I'm going to be picking your brains, but I won't pick this time to do that. So.
I had a 32-minute dissertation that I wanted to go through, but in lieu of time, I'll set that aside and just say that, we understand that it's a road to travel. We understand it's an uphill road. I make it a point to try to scan the room and look at facial expression and body language. So I feel your frustration, some more than others. And trust me, we understand that staff is doing everything that they feel is right. Like it or not, the council is doing what they feel is right. It's up to us to put the information out there to hopefully we'll reach the right decision in the end. It'll be an interesting journey on the way, but I think we'll ultimately get it right.
Thank you, sir. Got a few comments to close us out. I've watched social media. I've talked to people in the community. I hear the feedback, and I'm sure you have too, that our airport is perceived as a rich guy's playground. Certainly there's some wealthy people there, but the majority of people that are flying in and out of this airport and are based at this airport are regular Joes, as you would call it. I'll use myself as an example. Retired paramedic. I live on a pension and some Social Security. I live in a 70-year-old house. I have a 70-year-old airplane, 55-year-old hangar that I inherited from my dad. If I hadn't inherited those, I probably wouldn't be in aviation. Okay? And I think that's important for everybody to realize that the airport there is to serve everyone in aviation, whether you're flying a $20 million jet or a clunker. The fact of the matter is the county tax value on that little hangar is $5,300. The tax value on that little airplane is $15,000. The two of those make up less than most of the boats that are sitting in our citizens' backyards or their nice Harley-Davidsons that are in their garage. So I would like to temper that perspective that it's a rich guy's playground. I'd also like to offer myself up as a speaker to any community group that would like to know more about our airport, its history, its potential economic impact and benefit to Jasper County. If you want to talk to me, you can find me on Facebook Messenger, send me a message. I'll be glad to speak with you. close it out by saying I appreciate everybody being here, commissioners, interested parties, and to the public who's watching. Thank you, pay attention. Good things to come, I hope. And staff as well for your information and help. And I'd like to see if hear a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Hear a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Good night.